Hello everybody, this is Steve Yoder and welcome to week 4 in Legal Studies 457, 557, Business Law for Accountants here in the spring of 2025 at the UAB Collat School of Business. We are covering a lot of territory as we have to in order to get this course done in just 7 weeks' time. You can see the topics here. By the time you're watching this video, the first learning modules exam will have closed, and I will post a summary of the results just as soon as I can. Here is the answer to week 3's extra credit question. Remember, week 3 we covered contract law. What kind of a contract offer did the Trump administration make to all 2.3 million federal employees? It was to retire, and they put certain conditions on there. They had to respond by a particular date with a resignation. Note that the judge hearing the case to try to block that whole transaction denied the request to block it, and it's unclear exactly what is happening, but there was an offer made, and there were probably hundreds of thousands of federal employees who accepted that offer. We are in Module 2 now, and there are several sets of learning activities. This week we are looking at the first set there, sales and leases of goods and banking. There are several sets of class slides, as you can see here, for chapters 19 to 21, and then for chapter 24, which is the chapter on banking, in addition to some other learning activities, including a video by me. This one I can see was done at the loading dock of the Regions Bank Operation Center. Starting with Chapter 19, Sales and Lease Contracts, the Uniform Commercial Code was developed mostly after World War II to simplify the law structure for the sale and leasing of goods. Article 2 of the UCC is devoted to goods. And you can see, if you went into a law library, what the Uniform Commercial Code in Alabama would look like there. We are in the lower right-hand portion of this graphic for this week. We are dealing with the sale and leasing of goods. There is some common law that is still relevant, but Article 2 for sales and Article 2A for leases controls now, and those two did not control for the sale of services and real estate. There is, as I said, some pretty significant overlap from the common law, including that these 5 elements on your checklist would still be relevant if you pulled it out of your desk drawer for a client coming in and asking whether they could enforce a contract or not have a contract enforced against them. There's some modification, as you can see here. I'll let you stop and pause and look at that here and in the actual class slides. Here is this week 4's extra credit opportunity for 2 points added to your second exam. That should say by April 13, 2025, by 11:59 p.m. Give me the name of the very well-known clothing company that had an enforcement action brought against it by the Securities and Exchange Commission for recording transactions as sales that the SEC, which in this class means Securities and Exchange Commission, not Southeastern Conference, that the SEC said really were not sales. Chapter 20 covers the risk of loss, which is an important concept because sometimes things go bad between the point that goods leave the seller and arrive at the buyer. And we will see in Chapter 20 how that is. Take a look at this short video that I did, as I said, at the loading dock of the Regions Bank Operations Center. Chapter 21 covers performance and breach of this type of contract. The rules are slightly different, including that there are certain things that are automatically written into contracts for the sale and leasing of goods that, unless they're written out of the contracts, which they very often are, can be breached. And the most common one is the implied warranty of merchantability. And you'll learn more about that in the textbook and in the class slides. What are the remedies if there's a breach of a contract for the sale or leasing of goods? Well, it really all depends where they are. Are the goods where they were made? Are they in transit? Or are they the seller's place of business? The rules are different for each one. Moving on to Chapter 24, Banking. We still need to know about this. You as CPAs will have to deal with the law of checks, even though they are becoming less important. You'll need to know who the various parties to a check are. There are three parties: the drawee, the payee, and the drawer. And you've all probably had to use the routing and checking account number in various places when you want things debited from your checking account electronically. I would predict that sometime in your lifetime, at least checks won't, if they're not obsolete, they'll be almost obsolete, and this won't be tested on the CPA exam anymore, but right now it is. The check collection process is something we will be covering. Here's a graphic on that. Moving on to the very important topic of security interests and creditors' rights in Chapter 25. Here's a cartoon that I chose because I went to high school and college with the artist on this cartoon, William Hafley. You can see that the hostess is saying, "Leave your coats on the bed for collateral." Obviously, a hostess would not have a security interest to perfect unless she lends them money, which I hope she was not doing. I just had my 50th high school reunion, and you can see that Bill Hafley gave permission to use one of his cartoons for that as well. So here's a graphic explaining what a security interest is and what collateral is. Sometimes the law will read into your transaction a security interest for you. Here are the three that we will be looking at: mechanic's lien, artisan's lien, and attachments. You will have to know the difference between a suretyship and a guarantee. One is better than the other for the person who receives it, who is secured by it. Chapter 26 covers bankruptcy. Chapter 7 is sometimes called ordinary or straight bankruptcy, where you say you have this much in obligations and debts and this much in assets, and some or all of the debts get wiped out. Not as easy as that seems sometimes. There are other chapters you can use if you're a business and you want to stay in business, and there are other chapters to use if you are an individual and you want a shortcut through the process. About 20 years ago, Congress made it harder for most people to file for bankruptcy, putting in place some income limitations, and if you make above the amounts that you can see here, you're not kicked out completely from the bankruptcy process, but you have some more hoops to jump through to stay in it. There's a typo in that box there. The amount should have been $59,045. Some debts you simply cannot have discharged in bankruptcy, like debts to the IRS. Sorry, you can't get out of what you owe the IRS even if you file for bankruptcy. Student loans are also extremely hard to get discharged, although in the course of Joe Biden's presidency, he adopted a executive order that made it easier for student loans to get their debt discharged in bankruptcy. It's an open question about whether or not President Trump will allow that to continue, and we'll go back to an extremely onerous setup for discharging student loans in bankruptcy. Some businesses choose the Chapter 11 as their means of filing for bankruptcy. This allows them to stay in business. Many famous companies have continued on in business after filing for bankruptcy, including the publisher of your textbook and Delta Airlines. So here's our calendar. Today is Monday, April 7. The next thing that is due is the second set of CPA client simulations, due on Wednesday night, April 16 at 11:59 p.m. Every single student has one due on this particular date. The second exam will open on Friday, the 18th of April, and will close on Sunday, the 20th of April. That is, the availability period will open and close. You will have 70 minutes during that window to start and complete. You can't stop and start again. The second exam. There are certain other things, some quizzes that are also due on the 20th of April. And look how soon the end of the course is coming up, and all those things due in the last week.